first of all what we are. Like this is so unusual and so unique.
This is Madhouse Gym in Atlanta, Georgia.
It looks like a museum.
It is a museum. This man has been collecting equipment forever. He's got equipment all the way from the 1800s all the way through today. A lot of machines out there from the 60s we saw, 70s, all that we can just use.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? About 700 machines out there.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual, pretty unique, and pretty cool.
You hear about a lot of gyms around the world. I think this one takes the cake.
Yeah, he does. He actually does. So we was just here with Chad talking about, being intentional, meditation, detoxing, doing blood work, and now we kind of come to peptides. Like, who is peptides for, and what is a peptide?
A peptide is a small string of amino acids. They're produced by the cells in your body naturally. Cells produce millions of peptides every day, and they're just combinations of amino acids that can go on to do a job, maybe function as a hormone or a messenger, or become part of a tissue or an enzyme maybe to break things down, or turned into an even bigger, more complex protein to go do something even more robust. And our cells become dysfunctional throughout the course of our life, so their ability to produce certain peptides and then have those peptides get out into the bloodstream and then go serve a purpose with the rest of your body's tissues becomes diminished as we get older. And so by replacing some of these peptides, we can induce different biochemical pathways and initiate different genetic pathways in the body to get your body to either create different hormones, tissues, enzymes, or other peptides to do different jobs in the body. So as mathematically there's several 100,000 different peptides in the body. We've been studying them and their individual jobs in tissues and cells for probably 50 to 70 years. And even longer than that. Probably growth hormone goes back to the 1800s. Insulin is a peptide, so they've been known about for a very long time. And the cool thing about peptides is when you use them therapeutically, there's no feedback loop involved. You take the peptide, it goes to the cell, it binds to a receptor, and then the cell does a job. It either makes a hormone, a protein, a tissue, or an enzyme, and then it's over with. So whenever somebody injects insulin, the insulin triggers your cells to suck up all the sugar and fats from your bloodstream and then store it away. And every time you inject insulin, it does its job. It doesn't debate whether it wants to do its job or not. And all the other peptides are pretty similar. The only thing is, some peptides, if you're using them to heal the body, or you're using them to build muscle or burn fat, or you want to look better, then you have to make lifestyle changes to go along with it. Because if you're just going to be inactive and you eat McDonald's and fast food every day, you don't go to the gym, and you don't go out in the sun, taking growth hormone probably isn't a very good idea. If it would even be effective at all, it's probably not very wise. But when you use these things to help your body transform and heal different metabolic and genetic pathways through the body, then you can make amazing things happen.
Right. I mean, if you're not healthy, you have no business on doing peptides, right?
Oh, yeah. No. These are to take people to the next level. So we don't even let people get on them in the beginning. There's a few that we use for metabolic health for people that have like type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, or just different inflammation-based diseases, autoimmune stuff. They can start on some pretty early, but we like to detox people first. And, cell dysfunction starts with the mitochondria. So our mitochondria has become degenerated and degraded over the course of our life. And the worst thing you can do for mitochondria health is not exercise, eat all day, every day, because when you're constantly fueling or giving the mitochondria food, they break down from oxidative stress. That's the biggest thing. And then avoiding sunlight. So this is what Americans are really good at. So their mitochondrial health goes down, and this decreases their body's rate at which it can burn calories. So how cells become insulin resistant, when you continue to eat and release insulin all day, every day, the cells are always being triggered to suck up the food you're eating and store it as fat. And when the cells become full, not only can they not accept anymore, that stuff starts to build up in the bloodstream or in the interstitial fluid, but they can't make quality proteins, so their protein production shuts down. They make a bunch of mistake proteins, and then when the cells get filled up with a bunch of junk proteins, they stop dividing, they go into a senescent state, and they trigger an inflammatory response that messes up our hormones all the way downstream by elevating your cortisol levels. And so it leads to, overall, the accumulation of these dead cells in the body leads to your cortisol baseline being raised, and this will drive your muscle mass down and your body fat up over time. Makes it virtually impossible to build muscle and burn fat.
Right, I mean, you kind of are what you eat, right?
You
So
are what you eat. Yes.
you're building, you're giving nutrition, so you can build
Mhm.
cells, new cells, and new
Yes.
proteins. I mean, you're right, like because if you keep eating
Mhm.
and you keep digesting food, so then your body doesn't have an opportunity to actually recover and fix itself, right?
Yeah, no, it gets clogged up, and then when cells become insulin resistant, they're typically full of fat and metabolic debris, and then a biofilm grows over the lipid biolayer of the cell, and it blocks hormone receptor sites. Insulin, this is what causes the resistance, because when you have fat blocking the insulin receptor site, the insulin can't get to the cell and tell it to do its job. Furthermore, insulin receptors can also become degenerated if they're overstimulated, and then when cells are full and they have no more room for sugar and fat, it just builds up in the bloodstream. And if you keep eating, that fat will grow throughout all the tissues in your body, and it will grow off of your organs into your visceral cavity. And so that is a direct, like when your liver can no longer separate toxins from your bloodstream or anything that builds up in your bloodstream, then the cells in your intestines try to do this, and all these endotoxins and dead cell parts that would trigger an inflammatory response get deposited and stored into the visceral fat. So we have a machine that measures all this, and we start with a liver detox to shrink the visceral fat, because fasting is the only way to really get it down. Exercise will bring it down slowly over time, but every time you go into full-blown ketosis and do a 36 to 72 hour fast, you can knock several points off your visceral fat, and you can rehabilitate your liver. It's a very resilient organ. So the liver is basically like the mitochondria of your entire body. When you eat food all day, every day, it's constantly being triggered to take sugar and make fat. And then your hepatocytes, the liver cells, get filled up with fat, and then your liver becomes fatty. When you go 36 hours or 48 hours without food and you go into full-blown ketosis, the liver says, all right, we're not getting sugar to store as fat anymore. Let's take some of this fat and make sugar out of it before we pass out. And then you go into ketosis. The liver downregulates in size, clears out all the fatty deposits, and your metabolism can increase by up to 30%. The liver is responsible for 15 to 30% of your entire body's metabolism. So a dysfunctional liver can take your overall metabolism down quite significantly.
So pretty cleansed completely, like
Yes, and we do the liver detox. It's a fasting kit. It's a supplement. It's nothing magic in there. It's a liver supplement that you start when you're in ketosis to help bring the liver back to life and activate AMPK pathways in the breakdown process of things in the liver. It's got a milkshake for the microbiome, so you feel full and it kills your urges and cravings. And then it has a multivitamin and a bunch of adaptogens that flood your body with all the nutrition that you would be getting through food. So basically, it supports their fast, but it's the actual fasting and going into ketosis that heals the liver. And depending on people's level of insulin resistance and how fatty their liver is and how much visceral fat, we may have to do a series of these little 2 or 3 day fasts over the course of several months, maybe 1 to 2 times a month at most, to keep chipping away at that, because their liver will become metabolically dysfunctional again after a fast relatively quicker than somebody that's healthy. And we need somebody to be, when the liver is able to go into and out of ketosis, that's what's called metabolic flexibility. And when you are metabolically flexible, that is a sign that all your cells are clean, have proliferated hormone receptor sites, they have all the vitamins and minerals and micronutrients, and then your hormonal environment will represent that too. So when we get people and make them metabolically flexible by doing these little series of intermittent fasts and time-restricted feeding, and then we also do their nutrition, this proliferates all the hormone receptor sites and throughout all the cells in their body. It makes them much more receptive to peptides and hormones.
Right. So in this milkshake you're talking about, what's inside in terms of like protein content?
Inside is a bunch of soluble and insoluble fiber and different amino acids, and it's an amino acid profile that's meant to basically it's food for your microbiome. So we have 36 feet of intestines, trillions of bacteria in there, thousands of different species, all kind of viruses and funguses and parasites live in there. And if our gut lining is healthy, it's a nice relationship. They help us break down our food, they convert nutrients for us, and they do all kind of good stuff for our hormones. And when we don't eat right and we feed the wrong bacteria by eating processed food, and we starve out the bad bacteria by not eating enough fiber, you change your whole microbiome in your stomach. And so the ratios of the bacteria you have in there get small, or they change, and then the total number of bacteria actually gets smaller. So what this does is it makes the lining of your gut and your intestines susceptible to any kind of physiological or chemical damage from any kind of toxins and pollutants in your diet, proteins in your diet, and then eventually, if it gets bad enough, the bacteria that live in your gut and their waste products will leak into the gut, and that's what's called leaky gut. And that goes straight to the liver, causes an inflammatory response. So that milkshake not only feeds the good bacteria, all the amino acids and all the fiber, different types of fibers and adaptogens that they need to thrive, so it blows up the colonies of bacteria in your intestines so you feel full. You don't poop all over the place, but that they turn that fiber into a mucous membrane that keeps your colon walls healthy. And the colon walls feed off that mucous membrane, and the germs live on the other side, and it's a nice barrier between the germs and your body's immune system.
So how often would you guys recommend, like a year, a person should do?
Doing liver detox?
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. To clear out a liver, you need to go into ketosis, and that can take up to 48 hours with no food. So you can always do a 48 hours, and you never really need to go over 72 hours. We fasted thousands of people, and we found a sweet spot. And we looking at their blood work before and after, and we've done everything you can ever imagine, every combination. So really just entering ketosis, staying there for about a day is good enough on maybe a monthly basis or every 2 months. And then I would say, I would use the liver detox on a yearly or semi-annually basis, maybe every 6 months, to do an extended fast, maybe longer. Once you get your liver metabolically flexible and you're able to enter and exit ketosis, and you can go with or without food, without any kind of blood sugar problems or feeling any kind of wonky, then you can really push it, maybe do 3 to 5 days without food, or even go up to 7 days. The kit was meant to support a fast for up to 7 days. So we just require going into ketosis 48 hours to 72 hours max. That keeps people motivated, their mindset. It's not too hard for Miss Jones, who's 65 years old and has diabetes, and she's 300 pounds. Right. So we've worked with everybody under the sun, and that just seems to be the most effective little window. But yeah, maybe 1 to 2 times a year for a good extended one.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So in terms of peptides, so I definitely like to talk about the BPC 157. Mm-hmm. They call the Wolverine, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And they're kind of compounded with the TB500.
TB500. Well. We can have them mixed with some other ones. So yeah, these ones are healing ones. They work to help upregulate your immune system. So BPC stands for Body Protective Complex. It's made by the digestive juices, it's made in the gut. And your gut lining is epithelial tissue. It's always getting dissolved by acid and breaking itself down, and those cells are growing very, very rapidly, much faster than any other cells in your body. And so it's this peptide that stimulates that. And when we happen to have epithelial tissue all the way through your body. It's your body's connective tissue, holds your muscles together, holds your bones together, holds everything, your organs in place. And what BPC does is upregulate growth hormone receptor sites throughout that tissue. And it's also the tissue that our connective tissues are made with, ligaments and tendons and cartilage and all that. So it is super effective for joint pains. And that's not even the main benefit. The main benefit that I use it for, and for my clients, is for helping heal their gut. Because gut problems is the base of root of all disease. So if you have joint problems, you should heal the gut and start there, because when you're constantly driving inflammation in your gut, you're depleting the immune cells that would otherwise run around your body and eat up your shoulder inflammation, kill your brain cancer. And so when you give the gut lining is healed and you're no longer sacrificing your body's own immune system to break down inflammation in your gut, then you have more lymphocytes to go throughout your body and fight cancer and break down inflammation and all other disease. And that's what the TB500 does, and that's why we compound them together, because TB500 upregulates those T cells, the regulatory T cells that go through your body and dissolve inflammation. So when they come in contact with the diseased cell, they kill the cell, but they die at the same time. So if you're causing pointless inflammation in your gut because you eat too much food or too much refined foods and you have leaky gut, you're depleting the cells that would otherwise take care of your joint pain when you're sleeping, eat up the brain cancer in the middle of the night, suppress your cramps when it's that time of the month. So so by taking BPC and TB500, you're just creating a more robust immune system throughout your body, making it virtually impossible to suffer from any kind of tendinitis, joint pains, aches, and then every other single disease or chronic disease or inflammation-based disease that people are dealing with becomes dramatically suppressed and put into remission.
So this is good for somebody with immune disease problems,
yes,
maybe allergies.
Autoimmune disease, and there's even more. So TB500 and then thymosin alpha are originally used, those are hepatitis drugs. So hepatitis B and C is a virus that affects our liver cells, and if you take thymosin alpha, which upregulates and proliferates the B cells, the B cells that go through your white blood cells, And then you have your T cells that go through and eat inflammation. The B cells go through and tag everything for inflammation. So just using hepatitis, viral hepatitis as an example, when you take thymosin alpha, you release a bunch of immune system that goes through the liver and says, all right, kill this cell, kill that one. This one's got a virus, that one's got a virus. And then TB500 sends a bunch of cells behind that to go remove those cells. And then you replace them with new stem cells. So it's great for any kind of viral infection, any kind of autoimmune infection, any kind of chronic disease. It can heal. And then once you rid the body of all your inflammation, all your aches and pains go away, your joint pains are under control, then you just do it intermittently every couple months or maybe a low dose to maintain. They're very powerful, the peptides, and they do a lot of miracles, especially with sick people.
Right. So in terms of peptides, because I think the number one thing I've been hearing from the people that follow me, had questions about it, is most of peptides are injectable. Is that correct?
Yes.
Subcutaneous and a belly or something like that. There is any peptides that can be taken in a pill form?
Yeah, because BPC is made by the gastric juices, it can handle the gastric juices, but I think it's the only one as of now. And so peptides are very fragile, so as soon as they hit your stomach acid in the liver, they just get broken down. So in order to get the most benefit, they need to be injected, and then once they get to the cell and do their job, they're dead. So they're out, it's over. So it's not like there's a come down or a hangover or side effects, or you're going to feel different, or you're going to fall off the wagon the next day. You use peptides to heal, and then you stop taking them, you're still healed. It's not like steroid hormones where you gain a bunch of weight and build a bunch of muscle, and then you stop taking it, and then it just goes right back off.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That sounds good to me.
They're amazing.
Yeah, especially for people. Like, I'm very active, and I've tried the BPC. That's the for recovery, for injuries. I think it's great. I had a knee hyperextend on my knee. And I was pretty blown away because 4 days I was back in the gym, so I couldn't believe it, because I was a little worried. It's like, okay, I hyperextend the knees, like this is not good for me. Like, and then with BPC and TB500, I felt like in 4 days I was back in the gym. So I'm pretty impressed.
And it only gets better after about 6 months of using them. It makes it virtually impossible to hyperextend your knee and get pain.
Right.
Yes, I've been bodybuilding for 20 years. I've been in the fitness industry, wellness industry for 23 years, and I've always had some sort of joint pain at somewhere on my body. Something's hurting or swollen or inflamed.
Right.
And ever since I found peptides, it's just completely eradicated. I have no aches and pains. 40 years old. I can run a marathon. I can do somersaults across a parking lot with no clothes on, and I wouldn't have an ache or a pain on my body.
Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to feel good?
And there's a whole bunch of other ones. There's thousands. Those are just some of the main ones that we use to heal. We got one that when you inject it, it goes to your pineal gland, and it stimulates the release of melanocyte-stimulating hormone, which makes all the cells in your body release melanin and start dividing. So it makes you tan. You just do a little shot and you get tan. We got one that's an Alzheimer's and Parkinson's drug, and it's made for traumatic brain injuries. And when it goes into the brain, it tells the brain cells to make a bunch of enzymes that break down plaques that naturally build up and harden in our neurons throughout the course of our life, making our brain more plastic, so we're able to retrieve memories better, and our cognition goes up. We can think better, and we become smarter. It's amazing. It's called cerebral lysin. It's one of my favorite ones.
Awesome. Here you have it. Peptides.